What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions are coming off a very dominant win versus a Jacksonville Jaguars team that they should have dominated. They're coming off a great defensive performance, a really good offensive performance, and they are just coming off a very, very solid team win, and they're going to take some momentum into next week. However, a lot of Lions fans, after watching this Jacksonville game, are not necessarily convinced. They are not really, they're not very convinced that the Lions can go down to Atlanta and return to Michigan as a 3-3 football team, as a 500 football team, and go into the rest of the season with confidence. So in today's video, I wanted to go over the Atlanta Falcons, their win on Sunday, kind of, talk about their team as a whole and whether or not, we should be worried about this Atlanta Falcons team as much as a lot of Lions fans seem to be. Now, before we do get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It only takes 2 seconds out of your day to do so, and I would be greatly appreciative for it. It would help the channel out a lot, and it just helps me push this out to more Lions and more football fans such as yourselves. So if you could do that, just take 2 seconds out of your day to do it. I would be greatly appreciative for it. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about this matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons and whether or not we should be as worried about the Atlanta Falcons as many people seem to be at this point. Now, the Detroit Lions are currently a 2-3 football team coming off a very dominant win versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-5 at this point. Now, the Atlanta Falcons are a 1-5 football team. However, they are coming off their own dominant win as they defeated the Minnesota Vikings in Week 6 by a score of 40-23. Now, the offense on the Atlanta Falcons had a very, very explosive game versus the Minnesota Vikings. They put up 40 points, obviously. Matt Ryan had a fantastic day. Julio Jones had a fantastic day and once again showed the NFL that he was absolutely elite, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Even watching the offensive performance, even watching the Atlanta Falcons score 40 points on the day versus the Minnesota Vikings, I'm not necessarily concerned or as concerned as many other Lions fans seem to be. And my opinions and thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons haven't really changed a whole lot after watching the Atlanta Falcons in Week 6, comparing it to all the other weeks that the Atlanta Falcons had played. I'm going to explain what I mean, and I'm going to explain why this is. Now, if you look at what the Falcons did on a base stat, right? If you look at how they won, what the score was, you look 40-23 versus an NFL roster, that is a very dominant win, and we should be scared that this offense is going to go off for a lot of points. They fired Dan Quinn, maybe they figured some stuff out. But the Atlanta Falcons offense has been a very, very good one throughout the entire season. The Atlanta Falcons offense has been explosive. They've been putting up big plays. They've been throwing deep balls. They've been connecting on those deep balls. The Atlanta Falcons offense is second in passing yards in the NFL. It's top 5 in passing touchdowns in the NFL. Like, this passing offense has been elite all season. And, watching the Atlanta Falcons do that to the Minnesota Vikings doesn't necessarily change my viewpoint or change my opinion on what the Atlanta Falcons offense is capable of. I knew they could put up big yards. I knew that they could score a lot of points because we saw them do it numerous times. They put up big numbers against the Seahawks. They put up big numbers against the Cowboys. Like, the offense for the Atlanta Falcons has not been the problem. It has been the defense. So if you're looking at the Atlanta Falcons offense and saying, okay, well, all of a sudden it had a big explosion because Dan Quinn was fired, that's just straight up not true. And, yes, they had a great day on offense, but if you look at the defense they're playing, it looks significantly less impressive. The Minnesota Vikings on the season have not really been the same NFC defensive powerhouse that we have become accustomed to. On the 2020 season so far, the Minnesota Vikings have allowed over 1,720 passing yards, which is the third most in the NFL. They've allowed 14 passing touchdowns, which is the third most in the NFL. They only have 3 interceptions on the season, which is bottom of the barrel when it comes to turnovers and interceptions. And they have allowed 762 rushing yards, which is the 7th most in the NFL. So this defense is a bottom 10 defense in the NFL all around. Pass defense, rush defense, it is not a good one. So yeah, you look at the fact that the Atlanta Falcons scored 40 points, but if you compare that to what the Minnesota Vikings have been giving up recently, that's the second game that the Minnesota Vikings have given up over 40 points in just 6 games. The Minnesota Vikings give up so many yards, so many touchdowns, so many, do not force a lot of turnovers. Should I really be that impressed that the Falcons had a good day on offense against them? Like, this game, watching it back, watching the highlights, watching some of the film, watching this game live, The Atlanta Falcons, to me, didn't do anything that different on offense. They did not have that big of an offensive surge after firing Dan Quinn. And to me, this offense doesn't look that much different from what we saw in the first couple of weeks. The really major difference was the fact that the defense stepped up and forced some turnovers, something they have not done a lot throughout the beginning of the season. Now, you look at the Atlanta Falcons held the Minnesota Vikings to 23 points, which is, pretty solid. The Minnesota Vikings aren't necessarily an offensive juggernaut. They're not necessarily very good on the offensive side of the ball, and they did not have their number one running back in Dalvin Cook to really help take the load off Kirk Cousins. So the load was put on Kirk Cousins' shoulders, and what did he do? Kirk Cousins threw for 343 yards and 3 touchdowns on the game. Did have 3 interceptions, which I will talk about in a minute, but looking at those numbers, 343 and 3 touchdowns, that is not a good day for the Atlanta Falcons defense. I mean, if you allow over 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns on the game, your secondary is definitely being exposed. Your secondary definitely has some problems to work out. And although the secondary and the defense as a unit played much better for the Atlanta Falcons in Week 6, I'm still not necessarily convinced that they are a whole different team. I'm still not necessarily convinced that they are going to go out and just dominate the Detroit Lions because they are a better football team. Now, the Atlanta Falcons did have 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions on the day versus the Minnesota Vikings. 2 of them I don't necessarily put on Kirk Cousins, or 2 of them I don't necessarily give to the defense 100%. The first one, Kirk Cousins made a horrible read on the first play of the football game. It was a great play by the Atlanta Falcons linebacker, but again, Kirk Cousins kind of forced the ball in there, and it was really a unforced mistake by Cousins. The second one was a really good acrobatic catch. It was low, it was away, and AJ Terrell just made a fantastic play, so I will give that one to him. But again, it wasn't necessarily the greatest read by Kirk Cousins. It wasn't necessarily the best throw either. It was very underthrown. And then the third one I will absolutely give to the Atlanta Falcons defense. They got pressure on Kirk Cousins. They hit his arm when it came out and they picked it off, and it was a big play for the defense. So the defense definitely played better, and ironically enough, it kind of reminds me of the Detroit Lions defensive effort versus the Atlanta Falcons, where the quarterback made some mistakes that cost them the game. Obviously the Atlanta Falcons offense was able to capitalize on the turnovers much more than the Detroit Lions were, but the defensive performance kind of reminds me of the Lions Cardinals game, where the Lions defense came out against the Cardinals. They forced 3 turnovers, got 3 interceptions on Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray didn't necessarily play his best game. They got some pressure, they forced some unnecessary errors, and they walked out with a victory versus a team that some people weren't expecting them to be. The same can be said for this Atlanta Falcons matchup, where they came in as probably underdogs, not winning a game yet this season, going against a Minnesota Vikings team that has won a football game. They went in as underdogs, they went in as not favorites. They forced 3 turnovers, they forced some mistakes, they capitalized on those mistakes and made some and put up obviously big points and held the Minnesota Vikings to, obviously not enough to win the football game. Can the Falcons team keep it up? The Falcons didn't make any crazy moves. They didn't make any crazy personnel moves. They obviously fired their head coach, but, I don't necessarily think that I don't think Dan Quinn being fired is necessarily the reason that the Falcons had their big day. I think this day was coming. I think the Atlanta Falcons are a very, very talented team. They have a lot of talent on both sides of the football, and, if you go back to my game predictions, I had the Detroit Lions losing this game to the Atlanta Falcons early, before the season began. In the preseason predictions, I had the Lions losing this game because I think the Falcons are a very, very talented football team. I think they can do a lot on the air. I think they can do a lot through the ground. And, I think this will be a very tough matchup for the Lions to win. But I don't think the Lions are necessarily outclassed in this matchup. I don't think the Lions are necessarily outmatched, and I don't think they're going to be dominated and outplayed like some people seem to believe they are going to be. The Lions are going up against a phenomenal offense in Week 7 like the Atlanta Falcons, or in the Atlanta Falcons, but we've seen the Lions go up against good offenses before, and they've had some good performances versus those offenses. We've seen the Lions play up to other team standards. We've seen them get ahead, and now we've seen them win a football game that they were supposed to win, and we've seen them put their foot on the gas when they're up and continue to drive forward and put up points and not allow a team back in the football game when they've already put themselves in a great position to win. The Lions are going to get up in this game because they get up in every game, whether it be the Packers, the Bears, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Jaguars. We've gotten up, we've had a lead in every single football game, and the Lions are going to get up in this one. The Lions are going to score early, they're going to put up points, they're going to get up by a touchdown, maybe 10, maybe even 14 points on this Atlanta Falcons defense early, be. And the big factor of this game is, will the Lions offense be able to maintain drives, and will the Detroit Lions defense be able to slow and limit the big plays that this Atlanta Falcons team has been accustomed to as of lately? I don't know if they will be able to necessarily stop the Atlanta Falcons offense, but I think that this defense, with the performance they put out against Jacksonville, is much, much better than we saw early in the first month of the season, first off. And I think that this team has the talent, and I think they finally have the scheme and the defensive alignments that they need to be able to slow down these good offenses, to be able to, not shut down the Atlanta Falcons offense, but slow it enough where they can force some turnovers, where they can force some mistakes, where the Lions can capitalize on it and take that extra 1 or 2 drives away from the Falcons, give it to their offense, and use that as momentum to, propel themselves throughout the game. The Lions learned how to win last weekend, and I think that if it comes down to it again, if the Lions are in a similar situation where they get up on an Atlanta Falcons team, they're going to continue to run the ball once again. They're going to continue to drain the clock, to bleed time, to control time of possession, not force any unnecessary errors by Matthew Stafford, not force any unnecessary errors in general. And I think the Lions come in with a very similar strategy to what they did against Jacksonville, and I think that it can work once again. I don't think that the Lions are outclassed. I don't think they're outmatched. I don't think they're going to get dominated like some people seem to believe. This is going to be a very fun game to watch. There will be a lot of points. There will be a lot of scoring. There will be a lot of big plays for both sides of the football on both teams. And this game is going to be a good one to watch. Their offense has been good all year. Their defense has been struggling all year. And to me, not a lot has changed between the 2 weeks. Not a lot has changed between, week 5 and 6 for the Atlanta Falcons. This win was coming for the Falcons. They have been a good football team on offense for all of 2020. They have been a poor defense, and they finally got a good defensive performance from their players. But that one game does not convince me that they are all of a sudden turning it around. We talk about, as Lions fans, we talked a bit about it in the postgame show. One win doesn't make you a good football team. One win doesn't necessarily mean you're going to turn around your season. So why do we feel like the Atlanta Falcons, after one game of being dominant, of being a really good football team and playing great football, are all of a sudden this juggernaut that the Lions can't take down? It seemed like 2 weeks ago, the Lions fans were so confident that the Lions could go in and beat the Atlanta Falcons team. They were so confident that they could go in and get a win and go back to 500. And now after the Atlanta Falcons get one win against a very bad Minnesota Vikings team, all of a sudden, Lions fans are like, oh, we're going to get smoked. Oh, they're going to put up big numbers. Oh, they're going to do this and that to our defense, and we're going to lose by 50 points again. Why is that the idea behind the Lions? Why can the Lions win a game in dominant fashion but not be able to turn their season around, but the Atlanta Falcons win one football game versus a one-win football team in the Minnesota Vikings, and all of a sudden they're a juggernaut that the Lions can't stop? Like, the Lions are not outclassed. The Lions are not outmatched. If anything, the Lions are, the better football team in this game all around, as far as, full talent, as far as the completed team. The Lions are the more complete team in this matchup. The Lions can definitely go in and win this football game. It's not going to be easy. This is going to be a tough game. There's going to be a lot of big shots, a lot of blows to both sides of the game, or to both teams in this game. But the Lions can absolutely go in and walk out. And to me, nothing I saw in film, nothing I saw when watching tape, nothing I see in the numbers tells me that this Atlanta Falcons team is any different than the one we saw a few weeks ago. Nothing in the tape, in the film, and the stats tell me that this Atlanta Falcons team is a juggernaut all of a sudden. Nothing tells me that this Atlanta Falcons team took a huge step forward and is all of a sudden a brand new and different team. And if we as Lions fans are going to sit here after a really dominant win in Jacksonville and say, okay, well, it was an inferior team and they weren't as good, why can we also look up at the Atlanta Falcons and say, okay, well, they beat a one-win Minnesota team dominantly that they probably should have beat, and all of a sudden they're this great team that the Lions have no chance against? Like, I don't understand that idea. I don't understand the reasoning behind that, to be totally honest. This is not a game that the Lions are outmatched. This is a game that the Lions are going to go into. They're going to compete, and it is very possible, very likely, in fact, that the Lions walk out as a 500 team. It's a very likely possibility that the Lions go into this game with the same aggression, the same game plan, the same strategy, and they walk out with the same result once again. The Lions defense doesn't need to be complicated. The Lions don't need to outsmart themselves in this game. They need to play great complementary football like they did in Jacksonville, and they will be absolutely fine in this matchup. This game will be a tough one. This game will be a slugfest. This game will have a lot of points and will be a very tough one for the Lions to win. But I have been a fan of this Atlanta Falcons team for a while. I have thought that this team has been at a lot of talent, and nothing in my mind has changed about this matchup just based off last week. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, then I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Bye, guys.